Yes, I had to take a moment there and blow my nose. Excuse me, I apologize. We will look at the end times and what is going on in the world. Are we in the end of the world? How many prophecies that have never, because there's always been people that have said, such as Matthew 24 chapter, Luke 21st chapter, that there shall be wars and rumors of wars. Be not troubled yet. The end is coming soon. Okay? Now, there's always been wars and rumors of wars. But what about all the other prophecies that are happening right now that have never happened before in the history of the world? The Euphrates River drying up. Money, it's the push for a one world government without it being a military takeover, because we've had many empires throughout history that have tried to take the world, or the known world at the time, over. And many have come taken some massive pieces of land. But it's always been through military power. This time it might not be through military power. Is there a one world government coming? Is there one world currency? I would ask you that, look in your wallet. Do you have a credit card? You already have the one world currency. Okay, that credit card, that piece of plastic with numbers on it and your name, is accepted basically throughout the entire world. A few minor, places, North Korea, who wants to go there anyway, that it's not used, but we already have a one world government. People think of the New World Order, and people don't realize that they can't see. What did Columbus discover? Oh, the New World. Do we expect to find another continent somewhere? Is Atlantis going to rise out of the sea? Of course not. We already have the New World. Okay? And is the United States controlling? To a large extent for the last 70, 75 years or so. A very new country, a very new nation that has controlled massive parts of the world. Excuse me. But we will address all of these issues and how they come to be with the Bible. Because that's the bottom line, is if you believe in a life after. And if you don't, reality is that good morals, love, being a good person really does matter in this life. Okay? It's not just a matter of the life to come. It's a matter of what you do with this life. Are you kind to people? Are you good to everyone? Or you try to be? What you do here and now, as it says, you will be judged by your works, by what you have done. Okay? A lot of people put emphasis on a lot of different issues. But as it says, no murderer has eternal life. Not even so much as a lie shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. So if there is a possibility that Satan has deceived you, listen on and see if you can see, because not everyone can see, okay? Because it is written that with eyes you cannot see, with ears you cannot hear. I've heard many preachers throughout the years say that parables, the parables in the Gospels. What is the word gospel? We'll address this. But parables in the Gospel, that this was stories made in the way of the common people where they could understand. This is a lie. It's an easily proven lie, because if you do not take from what is written, you leave it in where it is. It clearly says, the disciples asked a very simple question. Why do you speak to these people in parables? Said, so that with eyes they can hear, they can see, and with ears they can hear and not understand. Because to you it is given to understand the mysteries of heaven, but to them it is not given. A parable is a riddle. If a preacher or minister or anyone tells you that a parable was there to make things easier to understand, it's a lie. Read what is written without taking out of it, and you shall see. Because if you know the story of Satan, okay, in the garden, in the temptation, okay, he brought a little piece of truth and then he warped it into the lie. And that's where people get caught up. You hear a little piece that may or may not be true, but it sounds good. And instead of being able to see, you're led by the blind leading the blind, and you're both going to fall into the hole. Okay? We're here to show you that faith in a lie is not faith. And that maybe, just maybe, what you believe may be mistaken. That's what we're here to address, to see what is the truth, what are the lies, and hopefully some of you will be able to see. Excuse me. But throughout the years, so much has been said. Right now, many will say that Christianity is under attack, which is one of the things that we will look at is the prophecies that Christianity takes as being theirs, and whether or not they have come to be. Okay? And why aren't they? To where, like science will tell you, oh, we just don't know, in the future we will see. We will find out. No, it's because they're lying to you. Science is, true science is something that you can test, and over and over and over, you will always get the same results. Science is not, gravity. People don't even know what gravity is. Gravity is the name given to a theory by an old English guy. Okay, look it up. You'll see who he is. You probably, many of you already know. It's Sir Isaac Newton, with the story of the apple that fell on his head. And he said, wow, things fall to the ground. And that is an observation. It's not science. Okay? It is an observation that everything falls to the ground, and it absolutely does. But why? Science gives you an answer. It just makes absolutely no sense. Okay? If you actually know the theories of science, they make no sense. But all of these are made to disprove the words that are in the Bible. Now, who is the author of the Bible? Let's start with who is it that authored the words that we read in the Bible, and what is the Bible? The Bible is an English word of a Greek word, biblio, which means book. It is the book. Okay, when you say Bible, that's technically what you're saying, the book. Okay, but as I said before, people will take throughout history and take words that are not used, okay, and try to form them into something. Okay, now we all know when we hear the word the Bible, what is being referred to. Absolutely, but the word only means book, okay? Every book is the Bible, a Bible, okay? The book is what we have. And here's where we get so many words, such as a word that I used earlier, the Gospels. The Gospels, if you try to use the word in an everyday sentence and it doesn't quite work, chances are that it's a deceptive word. Or it's no longer used in the context that it was originally written in, which is also an issue, that words throughout time change. Okay, the meanings are changed, which is one issue that, excuse me, I will get into in depth on another session here. The words from history, they go getting changed, and you have to go back and look at what it actually meant when it was written. And you have to actually research these things sometimes. Okay, because Satan deceives and he hides things really well. It's like recently I was listening to a minister or a scholar. Okay, he has a PhD. A man named a doctor named Brown. Very, very educated man. I take it from the set of his degrees, as so many people are. So many from theologians with doctorates. I have a few in my family. To having, such as this gentleman, degrees in linguistics. Okay, studying ancient languages and getting to what they mean. Very nice guy. I just recently ran into him on the radio and looked him up on YouTube, and one of the nicest guys I've seen. You know, very even with very obnoxious and ignorant people sometimes, he's still very gracious, very, very respectful. But to one that I heard the other day, he told him that, here, these things that I'm saying are facts. I have a degree, therefore what I say is facts. Everybody believes what I say, and it's a fact. Well, facts are not always real. They're not always true. And I will give just one simple example. But first, to where a fact is what we perceive to be the truth. It doesn't make it the truth. Okay? The truth is the truth. And facts usually, many times turn out to be untrue. Okay? Now, this gentleman's, this doctor's point of view was that he knows that, and basically the name, which Jews call Hashem, which means the name, whether it's YHVH or YHWH. Okay, now his point of view was that everybody knows that the name of the Father is Yahweh. And you can find that name all over the online. Yahweh. Okay? Yod He Vav He in Hebrew. It's called the Tetragrammaton, technically under, scholarly people. But we're talking, and some of the issues that I will address are very scholarly, shall we say. They're, but everything is there to be found. Search it out on the internet, which at times you would consider. You can find anything you want on the internet. But don't search for what you're looking for. Search for those that disagree with you. Such as, to me, I will present all the verses that I can find on a topic. Okay, those in favor of this person and those in favor of this one. But let's put them all together and see what it actually says. Because it is kind of rather interesting that it rarely ever comes out to be what you think it is. And when you have scholarly, highly educated people that are giving you a very short little piece of the truth, okay, and they're ignoring a tidal wave of what's against their position, and they only give you one or two verses, 3 or 4 at the best, of their point of view, and then they go on, such as, and I'm sure that many of you have heard this before with the Trinity. It's like an egg. There's 3 parts, and it makes up one egg. Well, if that was in the Bible, then we could quote that. But guess what? It's not in the Bible, so you can't actually use that as an example. Okay, you can for people that can't see, because it sounds good. Okay, well, I used to tell people it's like a football team. There's 11 of them. Okay, why use something when you have a massive Bible with many, many, many examples for every topic, every issue in there. There's at least 2. Because the law says, the Torah says, under 2 or 3 witnesses, the truth shall be known. The truth shall be established. So for every single topic in the Bible, there's at least 2. At least I've always found it, at least 2 points that you can find that it comes up with that. And there will be none that are against it. Because if you have 2 verses in favor of your position, and you have 1,000 verses against your position, I'd say just on a basis of scale-wise, maybe you're mistaken, unless you can explain the 1,000 other verses by the Bible. Because this is what I will present to you, is I will take the verses that are used by this group, this group, this group, and this group, and I will show you their verses. And sometimes I even have more verses than they have. And I will address and show you these, because I'm not looking to deceive. I'm looking to present you with what the Bible says, what history says, and all of these things, which comes back to a moment the issue of a fact. Whether or not these things are actual facts, whether someone can say, look, everybody in the world believes this, okay? For hundreds of years, everybody has known this to be true. And for all those people for 40 years plus, I've been asking them, is the world still flat? Because that was a fact. Some time ago, it was a fact. For over 1,000 years, well, actually for thousands of years, because I've never been able to find an ancient civilization that said the world was round. Well, actually, that's untrue, because I could be mistaken, but I believe the Hindus have, issues of the world being round, okay? But in Western civilization, you go back to any of them, and I don't believe that there's any history of the world being round. They all have that the world is flat, okay? And not that long ago, when this was a fact that everybody knew for thousands of years, everybody knew that the world was flat. They would even imprison you or kill you, execute you, if you didn't agree with their fact. Well, their fact was wrong. It wasn't the truth. Just because the whole world believed it didn't make it true. And this is my only point. And just while I was addressing just that one issue of a W or a V. Now here's what is a fact, and it's backed by everything on the planet. All of history, unless you can find something to contradict, okay, which I have not been able to. This is why I present it, okay? The Hebrew language has no W. So that name Yahweh is impossible. There is no W, even though even rabbis will tell you that there is a W in Hebrew. It still doesn't make it true. Okay? They can address it as a fact, but look up where the W comes from. It's a Roman letter invented by the Romans. So it is impossible for the Hebrews 1,000 years before Rome to have a letter that was invented 1,000 years later. That's what a fact is. Okay? That's why it's a W. Okay, who named it a W? If I'm not mistaken, it was the Germans. Okay, that named it a W. And it has a pretty well-established history. Now, because the Jews are using it now as a W, does that make it a Hebrew letter? No, it's still a Latin letter. It's a Roman letter. Okay, the Greeks didn't have a W. The Romans invented the W. Okay, so you can't have a W before the Romans. Just like Julius Caesar didn't drive a Cadillac He didn't even drive a Lincoln Town Car because they were not invented yet. Those are facts, okay, that cannot be disputed. Why? Because even though the whole world will say, all you have to do is prove it, okay? Because history shows us that the W, actually it should be a double V, because it comes from the Roman V, okay? And you can see it's two V's, okay? At one point they were crossing at the top and coming out, and the Germans named it a W because there'd been a dispute between numerous languages of what shall we call this letter? And they came up with W. Okay, the Romans didn't come up with naming it W. Okay, but if I'm not mistaken, it was the Germans or Germanic tribes around the year 800. Okay, but definitely it didn't exist anywhere on this planet before the Romans. So you could not have it. So what is the name of the Father in what is called the Old Testament? Okay, you have the 4 Hebrew letters. Yod, He, Vav, He. In English, they would be YHVH. Okay, now because many will again argue as to the vowels that are in there. Okay, as this Dr. Brown, that the beginning is YEH. Okay, like in Jew. Jew comes from Yehuda with YE. Okay, the problem is that you can't find that, because let's look at history, okay, to where Jews have been altering things for Christians, the same as Christians have been altering things for Jews. Okay, each group wants to stay away from the other one and not do what the other one does. Okay, Christians read, the Old Testament a little bit, what is in their best interest, and they avoid the rest of it. Jews don't really read the New Testament at all. Okay, that's why so many Jews can be led into Christianity, because it sounds good. They use pieces of the Old Testament. Now, I'm not saying whether they're right or not at this point. We will address that because that's a very lengthy issue. But when Moses asked at the burning bush, okay, he asked, when I go to the children of Israel, who shall I say sent me? And then we have, in a King James, we have, I am that I am. Well, in Hebrew, the words are Chaya Asher Chaya. Okay, and HA is the. In Hebrew, Yod, the Hey, HA, Haid, and they don't use vowels. We don't use vowels. There's vowel marks. There's dots, and I'm sure that anyone that has looked at Hebrew will know this. There'll be dots or dashes below, above, to the side, here, there, everywhere. Okay, to show what is the vowels that should be in there. The problem is that, again, this comes from the 8th century. Okay, you never find them before the 8th century. In fact, you find very little Hebrew before then, until the finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And that's, again, another issue of whether or not the New Testament was actually written in Greek. And we'll address that. We'll look at what the truth is, because only the truth matters. As it's written, the truth shall set you free. Okay? You shall know the truth. But the only way you can know the truth is if Yahweh opens your eyes to see the truth. Okay? And hey, that's basically is our half hour, more or less. But if you're interested in seeing these things and looking into some of these issues, and I beg you to please actually look these things up. Never, ever, ever take someone's word for it. Okay? Actually do your research, look it up, and don't look up for someone to acknowledge what you believe. Okay? If the truth was here, go here. If the truth is here, go here. Okay? Because if you find that what you believe is not true and you stay there, you tell me what you are. Okay? It's a horrible thing to know that you're wrong and still stay with a lie. Okay? Faith in a lie is not faith. Okay? Many will say, well, when you get to heaven, well, when you die, it's a bad time to find out that you're wrong. Just the same as here. I'll give you an example that's, my own. Okay? You can believe that you can fly with all of your heart, but if you jump off a 10-story building, on the way down is a bad time to find out that you can't fly. Showing you that faith in a lie, no matter how much you believe you can, as they say, how you doing? So far, so good, until you hit the ground. And hey, I'll leave you with that. Look us up and, shoot me a text, an email, at faithinaliisnotfaith@gmail.com. It's all one word. Questions, any issues. You ever want to debate? Somewhere down the line, we'll get to the position to where we'll be taking phone calls. And if you want to send, a question, we'll address your question. And, I'll do the research for you and look at all the verses and bring them all up. You have a great day.